Ross Ulbricht is serving a double life sentence without parole for all nonviolent charges for creating a website. Please help free this peaceful man. Go to freeross.org and sign and share the petition.
So it's little wonder that smart shoppers everywhere take time out to pause and refresh. And where else but in the fountain where they serve ice-cold Coca-Cola?
The eMilitia Podcast, Episode 38, Pat Watson, Uncensored Tactical, Bug Out Bags. Enjoy, fuckers.
Howdy, everybody. Today we are bringing you a crowd favorite topic, bug out bags. And we also have a few guests here. We have Mr. Pugh, we have Miss Buckles, and then the reason we're all sleep deprived because he's actually 2 hours late to record this podcast that was designed specifically to have him on, Pat from Uncensored Tactical. Now, just so you know who everybody else is, we're going to run down the list, starting with Bloody Revolutions.
What's up?
Great voice bit.
Well, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
That's Control Pew.
Oh, I thought that was the thing. We're just doing a one word sort of.
That's what I thought, but then Guns was like...
Why would that be what you thought? We used to do this every time.
Guns was expecting a fucking novel.
No, just say like, hey man.
Hi guys, I'm Control Q.
Revolution.
I print guns and stuff.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Impressive name.
Guns and guillotines.
I'm Miss Buckles.
Oh, are we going in order?
Yeah.
Pat, present.
What's
up?
But tardy.
Party.
That didn't turn out as well as I thought it would, I'll be honest.
It's alright, we'll fix it in post.
Okay, cool.
That's what she always said.
Anyway, we wanted to do this podcast. Well, mainly we wanted to do it because we're all really bored because none of us are allowed to leave the house anymore. But we also figured we could educate some people. So then we got people smarter than us, like our guests, on to give you the information with us as the vessel so that we get all the publicity for it.
That was really slick.
Sound reasoning.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome back to the show, Pat. That's a really heartfelt introduction. So I guess I guess a good place to start with a bug out bag is what would be your general definition? Like, shut the fuck up. What kind of situation and purpose would you give to a bug out bag?
Was that for Pat?
That was
Yeah.
Pat.
Sweet. Here's my answer. I got it prepared for you because I took some notes because I care very seriously about you guys, even though I don't show it with my timeliness. The first question is, what's your framing or the lens that you look through? So you should be able to say out loud, and it should make sense, the purpose for your bag. A lot of people call it a three-day bag. Some people call it a bug out bag. Some people call it a get home bag. So you can already see that there's a little bit of differentiation through what the bag would be purposed for, although there's a lot of overlap. Let's start with a 3-day bag. So the framing for that would be to survive for 3 days. But that begs the question, what's your AO? What's your experience level? Your area of operations? What's your experience level? Are you armed or unarmed? And a lot of people think that a 3-day bag means like a 97-day bag, which is not true. So calm the fuck down. We can swear, right? You guys swear all the time on this
Yeah.
show. Okay.
Yeah.
Calm the fuck down. Okay, it's not a 97-day bag. It's a 3-day bag. So you need like 2 pairs of underwear, 2 pairs of dry socks. I keep those things in Ziploc bags at the bottom of the bag. And then what I wouldn't do is 3 full days of water. That can be kind of heavy. but primarily in most modern
maybe.
America, whether it's urban or rural or semi-rural, you want creature features, and you want some security features, and you want a couple calories, and maybe one or two like small bottles of water just to get that hydration started, not to solve it forever. Creature features are big. Another piece of framing, or the lens you look through. I pack a lot, and on my road trip, I don't fly anywhere if I can avoid it. So I'll drive 20 hours across the country to teach a course instead of flying. And I sleep in my car a lot. It saves a ton of money on hotels. But when I pack for that, things like a blanket and a pillow can go a lot farther than like a machete and a handsaw and a Zippo lighter that's like $100. So you have to think about your framing, and you have to think about being in modern America. And of course, this audience, which I very much support, you should also be aware of, should I have a 3-day bag, and should it be for the next great civil war, right? That would be important. So I'm kind of just icing the surface a little bit on different types of framing for different types of purposes. And let me leave you with this last one before maybe we get some feedback. So this isn't my genius shining through. If it was, I'd be more than happy to tout myself and, say how great I am. But this is something that has been common for a while for first responders. Firefighters use it. Some military units, if they're trained correctly, they'll use it, but it's not wildly common, but it is known, and it is an old tactic. It's like a bump in the night bag for civilians. So something goes bump in the night, and you have your bag that's like, I don't know, like 1.5 feet by 2 feet, or like 2 feet by 3 feet, like a rough rectangle size, big enough for you to be wearing a pair of jeans and wearing a pair of boots. You can step into the bag. You can lower your jeans around your boots. You can untie your boots. You can step out. And then you take your hard plates and you put those over your boots. If you have a gun belt, and if you decide to have a bulletproof helmet, they would wrap around and go on top, and then you can zip that bag up. That's your bump bag. So that is, oh shit, something just went bump in the night. I know that it's not like I've got 2 seconds until they come into my bedroom door. So this is like, okay, start the clock. Here we go. Let's get moving. I step into my boots. I pull my pants up. I clip my pants together. I don't even need to tie my boots. I don't even need to do a zipper on my pants if I have a quick attach belt. Great. This is a huge advantage for you over just grabbing your Glock on the nightstand and storming out into the night out your front door. So number one, your feet are covered. If there's something sharp on the ground, you're going to be miserable and pissed, and you're going to maybe lose your balance, maybe you stub your toe, maybe you get injured, maybe you slip. So foot coverage is great for that. And if it's really hot out or really cold out, that foot coverage is really going to help a lot. And it only took 2 or 3 seconds when you rolled out of bed. The next step is going to be pants. So especially if you're in a cold environment, those pants are going to help. But more importantly, with the pants comes the belt. So grabbing your Glock from the nightstand naked or in your tighty whities and running for your front door, if you need to use 2 hands for something, now you're kind of in a pickle. So having that shooter's belt in those pants and having like a quick slide-on holster, like a pancake-style holster, to slip into that belt real quick is going to pay off in dividends. So that's another type of bug-out bag. So not necessarily for we're leaving town, but all these different types of bags for different types of things. And of course, there's a lot of overlap between them. So hopefully I've already brought you guys some value, because that's my intention every time.
Gotcha. I hadn't heard of a bump in the night bag, but yeah, I mean, different kinds of preparedness, and that's something I definitely want to get into with you. We don't have just specifically, as you said, Civil War's kicking off bag, because I mean, if you have an earthquake, you have a hurricane, a flood, whatever it might be in your local area, as I'm sure you're more familiar with down in Florida. But I mean, that's just part of life where you might have to leave your house in the middle of the night. If you have, 800 rounds of ammunition, but you don't have enough food or cash or whatever it might be to get you from point A to B, I mean, not everyone's going to be hungry for bullets. It's not going to do much for you. And so, differentiating between, a Civil War bag and just basic, something that we get into with Seaburn and stuff like that is more everyday preparedness, stuff that you're more likely to use. And realistically, as fun as it is to talk about rifles and battle gear and shit, just an emergency bag is going to be far more useful in all likelihood.
Condoms in a bug out bag, yes or no?
What's a condom?
There you go. Man of the people.
So I've heard you mention the whole bump in the night bag thing, and I've been thinking about it. Like, you don't even need a bag. You could use like a Rubbermaid container that fits under the bed. You could use the right Amazon box, put some duct tape on it, have all your shit ready to go.
Correct.
Like, I feel like a lot of our listeners have a lot of gear, and you're just helping them get it organized and ready to go quick.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the big a training philosophy or a guideline, and this is from, I think it's from either Bruce Lee or Dan Inosanto or both of them, because they spent a lot of time together and they had some overlap together. But it's absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and make this uniquely your own. So I, especially in my curriculum too, when I teach, I say, this is a baseline to start with. This is to get you moving. And none of my curriculum is exclusive, as in we are allowed to include anything we like. I don't exclude people from changing what I'm going to teach them to make it their own. So if something doesn't work for you, don't do it. If it does, add it in and mix it all up and do you. Yes, I agree 100%.
God, I wish you were one of my instructors at fucking Sandhurst. So much shit I carried for no fucking reason. I'd get back, I'm like, I don't even know what this is, honestly.
I posted a link in your Discord. If you want to attach it to the article, you're welcome to. But if you're listening and you want some photos of an example of a bump bag, it's going to be episode 113 on my podcast. You can just go to my website and search 113. I think it's Home Security Mix was the title of the show.
We'll definitely chuck that into the description. So I guess how many different types of bug out bag would you say, like for the average? Because we've talked about kind of a combat bug out bag, and then also like a more disaster oriented or crisis. Would you say those like the primary two, or?
So I'll give you kind of an answer. So I would recommend pick one that fits you the most, and then add a little bit of overlap to cover the other areas. Would be my best bet. If you got money that you can burn, put a bag in every corner for whatever reason you want. But I would, I know Texas Joe from the Uncensored Tactical Podcast. He's a kind of a guest contributor and certainly a co-host at times. He's now the primary person that runs Insurgency Knitting Circle. It used to be four of us together, but our lives have kind of taken different turns. So we all very much support him, and it's kind of been his baby. So he runs that now. He has a get home bag. So his purpose is he commutes very far to get to work. So he actually stores now a bicycle at work that can stay there unattended. So if something happens and if traffic is really, really bad, whether it's a civil war or an earthquake or a tornado or something, he can jump on his bicycle, and he has a bag with him to help with things like travel. And he can take that, hour and a half bike ride home, maybe 2 hours. I don't know how long it takes him, but it's quite a ways. So his bag is designed for that. And let's keep people honest here for a second too. If you're not good at firing weapons, if you don't own weapons, if you don't know how to run and gun, maybe don't waste your time yet building a bug out bag for the next Civil War. Like, that might not be the best use of your time. Doesn't matter how many magazines you have if you don't know how to switch mags in combat.
Yep.
So hopefully that can give us some guidance too. For me, it would be a travel bag. It would be literally just a 3-day bag to go from home into the car, to do a multiple hour-long road trip on the highway, and then to end up at a crappy motel once or twice throughout the trip. So mine would be designed for, I'd put in a couple door wedges so that when you're in a cheap motel or even a nice hotel, you can wedge those into the door so that you can sleep a little more peaceful at night. It would be phone chargers. It would be battery cords. It'd be 1 or 2 small bottles of water. Definitely a nice pack of butt wipes, like the wet wipes that you can use for field showers or for just being more comfortable when you drop a deuce. So some of those things are particularly designed for my kit. And one of the few things, and medicine has a big overlap in all these bags, but things like Pepto-Bismol for your stomach. If you're traveling and you're eating shitty food or no food or fast food, having a terrible stomach can really wreck your trip, whether it's combat related or not. If you're going to be changing your diet drastically, just a small serving of a couple different multivitamins that can really help you. Salt tablets. I'm particularly fond of my eyeballs. So when I was on patrol, either overseas or when I was working as a cop, I always had a squeeze bottle of eye solution that was designed for eye rinsing, so you can rinse your eyes out. You get the wrong thing in your eyes. I mean, just a tiny speck of the wrong thing, and that can completely ruin your combat effectiveness. So regular eye drops for like, oh, my eyes itch. That's good. And a small squeeze bottle, even if it's an empty squeeze bottle to save on weight, but it's designed to be pointed towards your eyes and you can squeeze it and flush your eyes out. That is, you might never need that, but that could be a godsend. That can save your life.
Oh yeah, you don't underestimate how much little things like that. I mean, an upset stomach or injured eyes in some way, that'll fuck you up long term.
Travel bag seems more up my alley too.
Yeah, and of course you can take that travel bag and then you can go, okay, now I'm going to put in 2 extra Glock mags. Now I'm going to put in 1 or 2 rifle mags. Okay, good. Maybe I'll put a carabiner on the back where I can attach my body armor. Okay, cool. So there's some overlap, certainly. But it should fit at least one purpose it should serve.
Gotcha. So I guess from there, what would be your... So there's all sorts of questions I've got from breaking down the weight to what the primary concerns would be. So I guess we break it up into like human needs. What would you say is the most major one to start with? Like,
sure, start with food and water if it's appropriate. Like we talked about the bump bag that you put under your bed or in a corner of your room. Of course, you don't need water bottles and granola bars in that. But almost any of the bags, if you have 1 or 2 energy bars, like a protein bar or granola bar or something, or like a Cliff Bar, like Texas Joe, his 2-hour-long bike ride home, that could really help keep his internal gas tank filled up. And something else I want you to remember too, which is why I said you don't need 3 gallons of water for your 3-day bag. This is, for most of the people listening, you'll be in modern America. So even if you're rural, there's going to be a gas station or something, within walking or bicycle distance that you can fill up some type of container or just drink from it. It's wildly uncommon in the U.S. to be anywhere where you can't find a water source, especially if you're not playing Wolverines out in the woods, and even then you can find some stuff. But if you're traveling or if you're bugging in or if you're bugging out, you can find some water somewhere. So food and water are important, but more importantly, I would say food.
Yeah.
Yeah, something I want to add on water. They make little 1-ounce Sawyer water filters. They weigh nothing, and they're like the size of your finger. So drop one of those in your bag if you're actually concerned about it.
And they'll hook to like any 2-liter or 20-ounce pop bottle.
Yep.
So you can just get water out of a puddle and drink it if it's that bad. Like you said, they're cheap and light as we ended on that. It's a wrap.
And show is over.
Oh, wow.
So here's something I wanted to add too. Specifically for me, for my bug out bag is specifically for travel. So myself and my loved ones that I teach, if it's just something that sits in the corner, or if it's something you're preparing for to take a trip, like a road trip, or even if you're flying somewhere, which I hate, I always go to the ATM and I pull out at least $300 in cash, and I store that not in my wallet, but somewhere specific in my belongings. And it's cut off from access. And the only purpose for that's my insurance money. So the purpose is if we have to jump in the car right now and we have to go a few hours in any direction just to go, even if we don't have credit cards, even if electricity goes down, if we show up to a hotel or a motel, we can take out that stack and go, how many nights will this get us? So, yeah, you can sleep in your car. Yeah, you can find a camping place and take your, sleeping bag out. But like I said, it's modern America, so we should plan for that. If, sleeping in a hotel versus sleeping in the woods or in the back of your car can completely change your next few days, and that can give you that energy and that security, and that would come with water and maybe food, and of course shelter. So a lot of this information out there is so much based on just combat, and it's so much based on running for the woods, that I think this is kind of a breath of fresh air for me, at least, to kind of share this knowledge that it's okay to adjust for your environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, same fucking. Are you even reading from the script as page 4? But yeah, a lot of people envision being like airdropped into the hostile jungles of South America. It's like, well, no, there's a Denny's down the road, and there's like there's a hose out back. You can probably refill your water in a really fucking awful scenario, but in all likelihood, you can probably go into the gas station and ask to fill up your water bottles, for Christ's sake.
I think like right now, a lot of our listeners are more like spooked by the coronavirus stuff, and the reason they're talking about bug out bags, probably more travel aspect, like a civil war type aspect. They're afraid like a massive lockdown is going to happen, and they want to go to the country or something like that.
Well, I think a better question might be, where are you going to go?
Great question.
Because so this was something that I came across with like early on in my sort of intro into preparedness was oh, I'm gonna go into the country and live in the woods. I'm like, okay, so is everyone else. We're just going to be in the woods together. So it kind of defeats the purpose of bugging out if you don't have any sort of wilderness skill set or anything of that nature. And it also, like, if you're all just, there's no organization, no plan to link up with people once you're out. So
yeah, Control Pew, you are correct. And Jack Spirko has been saying that for years and years. He said, if you think you're going to go bug out in the woods, but you've never spent a single night of your life camping, you're going to have a bad time. But that brings in a good training point. If you've never done that and you think, yeah, we're going to do that. Okay, great. Take one day off of work and just drive out to the woods and go. Try that for 8 hours one night. And good luck. I wish you the best. But if you've never done that, just like the combat loadout, why are you worrying about how to build a combat bailout bag if you don't know how to shoot? So if you're not familiar with that, either get familiar or change your planning. One thing I add to my travel bug out bag, which is not in a backpack, but it's in my car when I travel, I have a brand new unused 5-gallon metal jerry can for fuel. I do not recommend storing fuel in your vehicle, especially if you have like an SUV or like a to and from work commuter car. But it is completely reasonable to keep an empty fuel can in your trunk. So,
I mean, that's just good advice. I mean,
that's
great
good advice.
on the side of the road, you need something to put it in.
For a while, they were selling some kind of stuff at the auto parts stores that you could dump in. It was for the people that always ran out of gas. Here, you can use this. You can drive on it for 10 or 15 miles. I wouldn't recommend it. It's probably not great for your car, but in the apocalypse, I'm just a gallon or two of that. Like,
that was a thing.
Yeah,
like you can't just put fucking gas in your car. I mean, I might understand if like the gauge is broken, and you're like, oh shit, but like for normal people with normal cars that where the gauges work, really.
Maybe real quick, we cover what you should have in your car in the event an emergency happens, like you run out of gas.
Like if you live in Minnesota, a blanket's probably more important than a minigun.
Or at least as important. Yes. So, of course, keeping your area of operations in mind. It doesn't often get cold in Florida. I mean, there's some days it gets down to like 70, 71. So those are chilly for me. But I keep a high quality Gore-Tex rain jacket in my trunk. And that will save me a ton of pain and anguish if it's miserable out. I keep that empty fuel can that's never been used. I don't want those fumes floating around the car. I keep a small, you plug it into the cigarette lighter and it blows your tires up. I've used that countless times. What else do I got? Small medical kit. Here's a good one for vehicles that I'm really fond of that not a lot of people use. I keep a really good pair of binoculars, like not crazy expensive, but quality. And I keep them just hanging on the passenger seat. And that's huge for information. You get stuck in a traffic jam and you can get out of your car, stand on top of it. Not traffic jam like the light won't turn green, but traffic jam like you're stuck on a bridge that's like 3 miles long and you have no idea what the hell's going on. like people are parking their cars and taking their keys out. In that situation, taking your binoculars out and going, all right, what the fuck can I see? That's a huge piece of value for you. And it's funny. It's kind of one of those marketing gimmicks. Like people say, buy this keychain knife. You have no idea how often you'll need it until after you buy it and you use it every day. Well, same thing. People don't think about that every day when they're in their cars. But if you have those binoculars with you, I mean, sometimes you could be sitting at the intersection and you see something fucking weird happen in like a shopping plaza off to the side. And you're like, huh, that's weird. I wonder what's going on. Well, now you take those and you go, oh, damn. And that's a life changer. So binoculars, I think, are a really cool and very effective tool to keep in your vehicle that not a lot of people think about.
Is there a brand you recommend?
No, just
that will be the next thing, like size or something.
Doesn't matter. Even those small ones that can fold up to like a beer can size, they come in a little Velcro pouch. Those aren't bad. I keep mine are like 2 beer cans sitting next to each other is about how big mine are. And they're certain. I mean, terms we can all understand, right? They're certainly good enough.
And I would like to add, you mentioned the little pump. Like,
yeah,
tire plugs. Keep a set of tire plugs and a pair of pliers and a razor blade. And you can fix a flat pretty easily in the middle of nowhere or in the middle everywhere and get your ass back on the road.
Yes, absolutely.
And they can go right in a glove box. You should always have them. You should have them in case you're going home from work and it'll get you out of fucking being in rush hour on the side of a highway, which is like not pretty dangerous place to be.
So if we want to get back to the bug out bag, so we've covered food and water. What would be your next priority concern?
So for me, I did food and water. If it's a travel bag, which it usually is for me, I put some cash in there that'll get me 2 or 3 nights in a hotel. Paperwork is an important one too. It's nice to have some things digitally stored in a safe place. Things like copies of your photo ID, passport, all that crap. Even some places will take your credit card info, even if their computers are down, if you have the right info, or even if you don't have the physical card, but electricity is still running, you can often tell them the numbers on your card and the associated numbers with it, and they might be able to run it still. So one sheet of paper that has a couple bank account numbers, your credit card numbers, your name, your address, and if something happens to your phone, because a lot of people only have one phone now and they don't carry paper printouts of phone numbers, so we don't memorize those. Listing the phone numbers for your inner circle and maybe the addresses for them. And I can already hear some people kind of getting nervous, so let me answer the next part too, which is, oh no, what if someone takes that piece of paper with my credit card info and my home address and all this crap? So you pick a number, right? And you can add 1 or add 2 to the end of every digit or to the end of every line, right? So it changes your credit card by 1 digit at the end, but you know what all those digits are. Or if you have a loved one, like it's you and your partner, you both have that sheet of paper, each in your respective bags, and they're both coded +1 or -1 or +2 or -2. So that if someone does get it, they'll be punching your credit card address and it'll be wrong by 1 digit. Or if they're looking for your home address, it's wrong by a couple digits. Or phone numbers, they won't be calling you and your family. So things like that you can use for just some simple encryption.
Good
but
stuff.
Could save your life too. A pocket knife doesn't have to be expensive. I add a pocket knife to all my go bags. I just get a $20 or $30 one that's reasonable. I don't want the crappy ones from the gas station that break if I put pressure on them. But like a Gerber or like a Leatherman is a great tool for your go bags. So those are some cheap items I would pack. So we got food and water. We got some cash, some paperwork, phone chargers, like the phone battery banks. Those are great. Some charging cables for your phone, and then 2 things. 1, a wall socket, which not a lot of people keep one of those in their vehicle, but also the vehicle plug for your charging cables for your phones. Those are very important. What else do we got? If you're somewhere rural, of course you should have a big ass machete or like a handsaw that you can use to cut any type of downed limb or something on the road. What else? We talked about meds, and just over-the-counter meds. If you have a specific need for that, I mean, it's so crazy that in this fucking world you can't buy more medicine from your doctor. You're only limited to a certain amount for yourself. But it would be nice to store medicine if you can. I'm very fond of gloves. I did 2 special podcast episodes back to back on shooting gloves. So your AO, your area of operations should apply. In Florida, I don't really need winter gloves, but it's a really great thing to have some latex or nitrile gloves stored away somewhere, even if it's not combat related, even if it's not first aid related. What if I'm like, oh man, I'm stuck in this thing, or something splashed all over my car? Oh, it's disgusting. Let me put these gloves on, clean it up, and then not worry about it. So that's nice. When you change tires too, you get that black crap all over you. So put some gloves on, change some tires, strip them off. We talked about it in your bags, but it's also nice to keep in your vehicle, is a Ziploc, like a gallon Ziploc bag with your skivvy set, which is just 3 things: your socks, your underwear, and like a spare t-shirt. So even if you get soaked head to toe, if you change those 3 items and wring out the rest, put whatever, maybe your wet pants and like a coat back on, and you're good to go. So those are really nice items. Creature Features is the name of the game for a lot of this. It's a lot easier to survive if you're a lot more comfortable. But I'm sure we'll get into security here any minute.
Well, that's the one that everyone will probably tune out the first time they hear this and be like, "What's he going to talk about guns?" And then they'll go in the woods once and be like, "I should listen to Pat again." Where do I shit?
All right. I'm a big minimalist, but let's dive into security if you want that. Let's start right off the bat with the plate carrier. A lot of people love those. I do too. I love them. I do not worry about side plates. I'm more concerned about mobility. In the modern U.S., I'm not so worried about taking an IED hit to my vehicle. I'm worried about one bad guy standing directly in front of me, shooting straight at me. So I want front plates, back plates. I'm happy with that. I have a small medical kit on my gear that I do know how to use and I'm trained with. I have a couple entry tools on there. I have one that's a shove knife. It's like a latch, or like a Slim Jim, but not for vehicles, for door latches. I have 2 small, almost keychains. Like one's like a keychain size, one's like a pen size flashlight threaded into my molly. I got a couple spots for some M16 mags or whatever rifle I'm using. I got a small flashlight on my carrier, even though sometimes I'll have one in my pocket, or I have a flashlight on every fucking weapon I own. And that's it. That's all I got.
Minimalism.
Nice.
Oh, and I got my patch right on the front. If you're looking at the article that I linked to, I got the patch from Tropic Thunder, where what's the fucking guy's name? Robert Downey Jr.'s character. Where he's like, survive. He's got his yellow glasses on. That's it.
Beautiful.
Super simple.
Okay, so you said you have a light on every gun you own, right?
Yes.
Even your EDC?
Yes.
Do you also carry a hand light with your light equipped EDC?
Not always. I don't always carry a flashlight.
More often than not, or?
More often than not, I do not carry a separate flashlight.
Okay. For anybody who's not in on the gun space, there's a debate going on about whether or not you should have a light on your EDC, and use that as your primary light, just because every time you pull out your gun, you turn on your flashlight. If you just need the flashlight, if you're scanning for stuff, every time you point that light at something, you're also pointing your gun at it too. And then we have the 4 rules of gun safety that go along with that. So it's a debate. It's interesting to get into.
I completely understand. I'd like to separate that answer or that rebuttal into 2 parts. No, you should not use your weapon as an administrative task light. Absolutely not. So sure, I'm on the same page. However, if there's something where I think I might need to shoot that thing, then I'm not going to use, even if I had it, I'm not going to use just a handheld flashlight. So I want to make sure there's 2 separate cases here. And if I get too close to that line between the 2, I would be using my weapon anyways. So here's an example. I dropped something in the movie theater, right? I dropped my wallet behind my seat. I am not going to take out my everyday carry pistol and lay down on the ground and go, ha, got it. That's completely inappropriate.
Oh, you shouldn't do that.
Right. Shouldn't. But here's the flip side. It's an administrative task. And here's the other thing. Most people in modern America have a cell phone with a bright-ass flashlight on it, right? The flashlight doing things that a flashlight on your phone doing things that 20 or 30 years ago, a normal flashlight couldn't do. So most of us have phones. And if you're not in a super big rush, right, it's not going to end your life. So there's two separate things. You have an admin task and a safety task. Now, if in that movie theater, down in the front row, I hear a scuffle and I hear people go, oh my God, it's completely reasonable to take out that weapon light, to drop my loved one down behind the seats and stand up and do a quick flash with that flashlight and say, okay, what did I see? What did I not see? And even if it's not, oh no, there was a snake. That's fine. Great. I did what was completely reasonable. I thought there might be a threat because threats do pop up in movie theaters. I'm sure we all know. So if someone's like, hey, did you have a gun? Yeah, sure did. Really sorry. Everything's fine. We're good to go. We're safe. But, that's not an admin task. That's an emergency task, emergency safety related task. Now, the other crowd, you're not wrong for also carrying a flashlight. I want to be clear. I don't think that's bad. I choose not to do it. That's all. I have a cell phone. So if it's plainly administrative, I have at least a light. But it's just, I'm getting old, man. These hips don't lie. And they've been wrecked.
More stuff, more crap.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's a similar theory to what I have.
It's very practical.
Yeah, you gotta love those pocket dumps where it looks, you're like, no, fuck you. Half that's in your truck.
Right.
Come on. There's no fucking way.
You left half that shit on the dresser. Fuck off.
Yeah, it looks good for the gram, but let's be real.
Do you have a multi-tool? Where's your multi-tool, bro?
At some point, it's like, do you have a purse to carry all that shit?
Right. A merce.
A merce. Because my pockets aren't that big. You have some weird pockets I don't?
Make tactical fanny packs great again.
Oh, God, please don't.
Or great. I don't know that they've ever been great.
I still haven't adjusted to hearing Americans say fanny. It's still traumatic.
Fanny pack? I thought they were called fag bags.
I always call it a fag bag.
Not in like a negative way. Just I thought that was the term for it.
Fanny pack. They're very manly.
I mean, like, you see Marsoc Raiders have them now on their fucking kits, so I guess, maybe, if you get them in, like, Coyote 10, they're manly, but...
Multicam.
What if my fanny pack is my bug-out bag? What should I keep in it?
Your lipstick and, I don't know, so, like, some
heels.
vodka to make your quick and painful death a little bit easier. I don't know.
Maybe some duct tape?
A little airplane-sized bottle of booze?
Yes. At least 6.
Priorities.
Oh, there is something else I have on my kit, and I'm a big minimalist, but there's a company I really like called Blue Force Gear, and they make a lot of stuff. It's part of one of their programs called Inches and Ounces, and I love it because it's kind of like sexual and violent. It's hot. So Inches and Ounces is, space matters and weight matters. So they have a dump pouch that's only like maybe 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. It's a tiny little square. But inside, it's like parachute material. So you pull a little tab and boom, now you have like a bag the size of a gallon of water hanging off your kit. So that if you need to go hands-free and put a bunch of stuff in a pocket, that pocket can kind of pop out for you. That's one of the last things I did have on my armor that I forgot to tell you guys about.
Yeah, I love that bag. That's the dump pouch is amazing.
So it's kind of like it's like a expanding fanny pack, so to speak.
I believe Jared from Biting the Bullet exclusively refers to those as snack pouches.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little story here. There's an easy way to tell the difference between someone who has experience and someone who doesn't when they get all geared up in their military garb. If you have a little snack pouch right next to your ammo pouch and you can visibly see like energy bars poking out, that's probably, contrary to popular belief, that's probably a sign of experience as opposed to a sign of not being experienced.
I agree with that.
Big deal. A lot
actual operator.
Actual people know, dude, we're going to be here for fucking 16 hours standing in this beating sun. So yes, I have a fucking Snickers bar in here. Blow me. Yeah. Like that's going to be important.
If you want some beef jerky or M&Ms, they're back there too.
So I don't have it on there now. I used to have it for operations. I used to have a utility pouch that was, like when you get birthday cards in the mail, like that size. Like what is that, 4x6, a little bigger than 5x6, 5x7. It went on my side. It was mostly empty, but it had 2 loose 123 batteries, like the ones you use for Surefire batteries for your tack lights. It had earplugs. If we'd spent a lot of time in engine rooms searching for drugs and hidden compartments, I would put those earplugs in. or if you're at the range, I always knew I had a pair in my little admin pouch. I had a Sharpie marker that I can write on stuff with. I had a small notepad tucked in there. And of course, I had a couple snacks, like maybe a power bar I would put in there before each operation. So an admin pouch is great. If someone hands you something like, I don't know, they're like, hey, I got to take the gas cap off this engine and do some troubleshooting. Can you hold this? Well, I don't know if I fucking hold this for 6 hours, put it in my admin pouch or my dump pouch. So that was a spot where things that were constantly going in and out, or like a specific mission critical piece of gear that was like handheld, would go in there. Again, I don't carry that now, but I used to, so that's always a good option.
Gotcha. So
go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna like leap on to someone else.
Yeah, I just have one more tip for your body armor. So there's also a debate on which to go on your upper armor, like your chest rig and your plate carrier, and which to go on your belt. So there's a couple things to consider for that. One would be duplicate items. So I usually keep just pistol mags on my belt, and I keep free space on my chest. Another option is if you change that, it's good for duplicates. So yeah, if you have pistol mags on your belt, that's good. Well, now you have more pistol mags on your chest if you put those there as well. So that's up to user. I don't like to demand what people do and what they don't do, but user preference. There's also a flashlight on the belt versus flashlight on the kit. And it also depends on if you're wearing a battle belt or just your standard belt that your pants go on. So that would change things as well. Of course, with the battle belt, you have a lot more real estate, and you often have a molly gear pattern. So things to consider, of course, user preference. And of course, you got to look cool doing it too. So you got to make sure you match and get the right color scheme. I'm a big fan of multicam. I don't care what anybody says.
Multicam is best cam.
Gucci cam.
All right, so 2 questions then. Number 1, plates, right? Ceramic or steel?
I don't know enough about that, so I'm going to take the honest answer and say I can't give you guidance on that because it's not my specialty. I can tell you I've used ceramic plates for a long time, and they seem to fit well, and the weight works well. I'm going to be doing a podcast show on it. I do have a specialist lined up that we're going to cover that in the future. So I don't know.
Fair.
What are your thoughts?
I like ceramic plates. So the problem that I see a lot with steel plates, in the very minimal exposure that I've had to them, is that the spalling material, like the variable hardness or the variance in hardness between the steel plate and the spalling material, gives you a shear line for all your fragmentation. Because that bullet hits the steel, it's going to fragment and rip the spalling off of, or the spall coating off that plate.
Okay.
And then you just get, after 2 or 3 shots, you just get shrapnel into your face. Now, the theory is you should move, right? if you're getting shot, you shouldn't just stand there and eat it, right? It's not not the best course of action for you. You should move after like the first hit, get behind cover if at all possible. But if you can't, then you just get spalling into your face, and then there's a lot of like sensitive stuff in your face area, around your neck, a lot of big arteries and stuff in your brain. So generally good things to avoid getting shot at, or and getting fragged. With a ceramic plate though, that ceramic is like more likely to crack than it is to like shatter the bullet. So I mean it's rocking a hard place, but I would rather take a bullet in the guts than like shrapnel through my skull up through my chin. So
that's
like one is survivable, the other is not so much.
I was going to say what you said, but you already covered it. But yeah, I agree that you shouldn't be worried about, well, can my armor take 17 hits or 20 hits? No, right. The problem should be, can I take a round, maybe 2 if I'm really an idiot, and can I get my ass moving? Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. You nailed it before I had a chance to add that.
Woohoo! Not as dumb as I look.
There you go. You're earning your keep, control.
So learning about what's important. Yeah, we need to ask that question.
Right. And I had a second question, but I don't know where the hell it went. So
about upper versus lower storage. We're on that topic. Was that it?
I mean, so I guess on that point, I can move from my first line gear, which is my war belt, to my second line gear, which is my plate and my rifle, pretty quickly. They're pretty close together in my house. So if I'm getting into that kind of engagement, like it's not hard for me to get to the rifle, to the second line gear. Getting the plate on, the carrier on, takes a little more doing. So I may not be able to do that, but my rifle's there, and if I can upgrade my firepower from my pistol, then I'm going to do that. So I do 1 mag on the belt, 2 pistol mags, and then, or 1 rifle mag, 2 pistol mags. And then on the carrier, I've got 2 more pistol mags and 4 more, 4 accessible rifle mags. And I've got 2 in like an administrative storage slot that I can't readily reach. So it's not convenient to get to, but they're there in case I need them to like augment my immediate access gear.
Now I had a question too. I fucking forgot it.
Very on brand for us.
It probably wasn't. I think you're probably well aware of this, but for those in the audience that are exploring this tactical realm and are trying to learn, we have a tip for getting that upper armor on quicker. And I'm sure a lot of people already know this, but for the newbies, you don't have to take both of the side flaps of your armor off. So I leave, it's not like putting on a t-shirt where like I put the whole thing over my head and I reach to the right and stretch it and put it to the front, reach to the left, stretch that cummerbund to the front. I leave just one of those side buns open. So when I lift it up, my left arm and my head both go into the carrier at the same time, like I'm putting on half of a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Then I only have one strap to close. So I lift my Velcro, pull the strap, put the Velcro down. And that's super fast as far as upper armor. And I don't have a helmet for my head. I have a ball cap, and I understand the risk. And I that risk is mine to weigh alone, and I carry that. But I think it looks cooler.
That's sound advice with a plate carrier, with the exception of like the I want to say the Faro Concept Slickster.
Mm-hmm.
I know Chase Tactical has another one where the cummerbund's elastic.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't align it properly putting it on that way. You have to do both sides of it. So it's a little more of a pain in the ass.
Sure. If you have that option, be aware of it. Yeah. If you don't, you got to figure it out.
But bottom line, practice with your kit. Because if you don't, you'll look stupid. And if you look stupid, what's the point?
Sure. Let's give another tip for that too. One of the biggest, two of the biggest mistakes that people have with body armor, even people send me like private DMs on Instagram of like FBI and Secret Service guys doing this shit too. Their titles don't mean shit. Just to reiterate, if you haven't heard me say that before. 2 of the biggest mistakes people make with your upper body armor. Number 1, they wear it way too low or just way too low on their back, right? Because when you look down at your chest, you look cool. But you don't realize that your back plate is like resting on your back of your belt. So a lot of people can't even get to the mags or the handcuffs or the flashlight on their belt because their kit is over it or pushing down on it. So wear it high and tight on the front and on the back. Number 2 is people get plate carriers that are way too big, where you look like a fucking, not like a cool Ninja Turtle, but like an actual turtle and kind of nerdy. So usually I would recommend people choose one size smaller than they think they need. Like I'm a pretty medium-sized guy, and I absolutely fit perfectly in a small plate carrier. When I get medium, it goes from like my Adam's apple down to like past my belly button, and I'm like, this is no good. So this is wildly common in the military, especially in places where you walk into a big gear room and there's 100 people behind you in line, and they go, you're a medium, here you go. No, try that shit on. And then when it doesn't fit, hand it back to them and go, this doesn't fit. When they go, yeah, it does. Look, you're in it. No, being in it doesn't mean I fit in it. This is for because people might shoot at me, so it should probably fit correctly. So I get a smaller plate carrier than I think I need, at least to try on, and I wear it high and tight on the front and on the back.
So check me if I'm wrong on this, but for the front plate, the top of it should sit at the collarbones.
At or just below the collarbone, yeah.
Okay, and then on the back plate, like the back of the bottom of the plate should ride just above your kidneys. So if you put your hand back and like about as high as you can reach on your back, just sitting normally, should be about the bottom of your plate.
Right. Well, and my answer will be, here's where it shouldn't ride. On the back plate, it shouldn't be resting its weight on the top of your belt.
Fair.
So above that, right? That's because it's really common. People do that. They go, I got man, it's kind of hard to move in this thing. Well, yeah, because number 1, it's not the right size. Number 2, it's way too low. So those are the 2 biggest mistakes for the beginners and the experienced people out there.
Oh, the worst thing is when you see it like loose on someone kind of bouncing around. You're like, oh, that's good.
And you can see, I did an article on this somewhere on my website too. I did a lot of photos, and you can see you look like a fucking loser when you have you look like a loser. And this is common for like your mid-ranking military people that are like just high enough where they can drive a desk, but just low enough where they have to, wear the gear anyways. Really common. And you look like a big fucking doofus. So, and you look a lot cooler and a lot slicker when you fucking wear your gear right. So I don't know what the fuck is going on in these people's heads, but it's not complicated, but it does require you to ask a question and to have a reasonable answer for that. I wear it this way because. So try and examine that and see where you go from there.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not yelling at you guys. I'm sorry.
Jeez,
okay?
Pat, be nice to us, man.
No, sorry.
Sensitive feelings.
Right now, it seems like, I don't know, like with everything that's going on, like rioting is like an actual concern for some people, in place of like worst scenario. But people like me, I'm not really cut out for the whole fighting thing. Like I would be more of like a fleeing person in that situation. Would my bug out bag look more like a travel bag, or would it be more in between those two? Like not fighting, not traveling, like people are
like a get out of Dodge bag.
Sure. There's a company I really like. I've been doing a lot of testing for their gear lately. Vertex, VERTX.
Oh,
Vertex.
Yes.
They have some travel bags that are like sling bags. Some are tiny, some are medium sized, and you can slip a ceramic plate, or maybe even I don't know, maybe a steel plate. You can slip a plate into the back of it. It's designed to carry a plate. So one of those might be a good idea for you. And of course you can do a travel bag, but you got to play to your strengths. And if you can shore up one or two of your weaknesses, you can do that as well in the meantime. God, that's a good question.
They have all the weaknesses in a fighting scenario.
You can document, you can make phone calls, you can get that. You can make sure you have that battery bank for your cell phone. I know it sounds silly in a combat situation, but God forbid your fucking phone's low and you're like, okay, there's a dark corner I can hide in for a couple hours. So that's a good idea. Sunroof, sunshades for your vehicle are good for privacy. When I travel, I have one for every window so that I can sleep in the back and not be too worried. What else do we got? This is a lesson I learned as a kid. This is another thing. I was primed for this at a very young age. So
I couldn't tell.
Give me all the advice.
I guess. Thank you. So I learned a lot of lessons as a child from handed down knowledge that you can't necessarily learn in schools or in a police academy. So what is the biggest, most powerful weapon that most cops have on them on patrol?
The stick thing. Is it the stick?
The stick thing? It's not the stick thing, but good guess.
Your badge, dressed like a cop.
Right, the costume, right. So some people say the gun, right? It's the most powerful tool you have. Some people say your brain, which isn't wrong. Of course, that's one of the most powerful tools you have. But the actual, as far as size and weight and scale, and surely raw power as well, is your vehicle. So when things go fucking crazy, you are allowed to change the rules. Okay, of course, at a red light, if we're like, man, I'm in a hurry, I would not ram the car in front of me. But what's reasonable changes with your environment. So if you're a runner, great. You need to remember how to use that car to your advantage. So when you pull up to a red light, leave 6 to 8, at least 6, maybe 10 to 12 feet between you and the car in front of you, regardless of what the car behind you wants to do. If they're beeping at you, fuck them, but just sit there. That space is yours in front of your vehicle. So when something pops off, you can A, turn the wheels hard to the left and drive over the the center median of the street. B, turn to the right, go up on the sidewalk. Or C, get that gas build up and go through the car in front of you and push them where you want them so that you can escape. So these are things you might want to consider. And of course, money's tough and vacation days are tough. But if you're not big on combat, you can practice your medicine. You can take a medical course. If you're not big on that, you can do a vehicle course, because driving vehicles, a lot of people do that every fucking day of their life, and they have no clue the raw power at their hands and how to tactfully use that to their advantage.
That's something I've been quite curious of. What do they call it? What would you search if you were interested in a course like that?
A driving course?
Yeah, I've seen like combative driving, all sorts of,
Sure.
hardcore, tactical names for it, but I don't know the general kind of what you'd be looking up.
Even a stunt driving course, like I've done some work with a stunt company back when I was just getting out of high school, and they did stunt driving for vehicles. You learn a lot there that will save your life, like how to handle cars on a wet track, how to maintain control of your vehicle, how to do precision driving, how to kind of drive by your peripherals, how to do threshold braking. So braking just hard enough that you don't lose steering, but not so hard that that your brakes lock up and that you slide. Things like that. Those will save your life just for defensive driving. For offensive driving, you could look for what they call a convoy course. So even if it's just your vehicle, you can still learn a lot from a convoy driving course. Almost any time you can spend with real professionals teaching you how to maneuver your car can help you.
Well,
so I think something that might be important there would be, how would we vet a real professional? Like what are some things we should look for so we don't wind up with a VODA driving instructor?
Good question.
It's kind of a cop-out answer, but it doesn't matter in the long run. In the short run, it matters. But in the long run, if you have a bad instructor, you always have to remind yourself walking into training, these people might be fucking back-ass words, and I might be completely wrong. You still get the time where you're using those tools. You still get the time on target, or you still get the time running drills. And you get to use that big, sexy brain of yours, and you get to determine, was this training helpful or was it not? Or was it a mix between the two? The cop-out answer is you should be continually training. So it shouldn't matter if you get one that's not great, right? But of course, it is important to get the best training you can. Sure, I agree. But in the long run, it shouldn't matter. And you get to use that. You don't get to have, other people don't get to tell you how effective their training is. You get that determination. So sorry that I don't have a fair scale for that.
Yelp.
Damn it, there's no certificate. I mean, what are we going to do about a piece of paper that tells us they're good at what they do?
Hingham said Yelp.
That's awesome. I like that.
There you go.
I mean, that's how you pick restaurants, right? You're like, yeah, well, it's got 3.5 stars, so we'll give it a shot.
Say we are the run to the woods type. What would be our primary concern with shelter?
I have never gone camping a single day in my life.
Have you not?
Wow.
I am not your expert in this category.
Some could argue sleeping in your car is camping.
Car camping.
Car camp it.
So what I will tell you about bugging out to the woods is I like the little, they're really lightweight hammocks. You can get them off of like Amazon or something for $100. String between two trees, you're off the ground, and there's usually like a tarp that comes with it to keep the rain off you and whatever else falls out of the tree. So those are nice, expedient camp setups if you get into the woods and you need to sleep. The little tiny water filters are really good because they're light, they weigh nothing, and you can use them for days and days on end without having to clean them out. Food is a problem because food takes space and you can't just acquire it in the woods unless you're really familiar with that area, because shit in the woods will kill you if you eat it wrong. So don't just grab mushrooms off the ground and go to town, or berries, or stuff like that.
Oh.
Yeah, right.
See, so oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So I was going to get into the shelter thing. So my time at Sandhurst, we used roll mats, our sleeping bags, and then a tarp, like exclusively. But for in rural England, where the shitty training grounds are, we don't exactly have venomous snakes and shit that will snuggle up next to you and potentially kill you. So I'm wondering, Miss Buckles, you camp rurally in the desert, right? Is Miss Buckles even still here?
I am.
Okay, good. Just make sure. I was like, I hope I didn't call on you and then you were like passed out.
No, I'm still here. Yeah, we camp out in the desert quite often. I actually have a hammock. That's what we use. So we have tents too, but if I'm personally just going by myself where it's only a couple of us and we don't need a tent, we just bring our hammocks. And we've even strung them up between vehicles if there's not trees about.
I was gonna say, because like tents usually, they take up a fuck ton of space in packing a bag, and I will always take a tarp just from personal experience. But I don't know if that's a major concern out here for anyone. Venomous shit.
Yeah, guy would just want to get off the ground.
Yeah.
The hammocks are very big in the motorcycle camping. A lot of.
Yeah, they're small. They're lightweight. They're 5 minutes to set up as opposed to 20 minutes sticking with a tent.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, bugging out to the woods is all about conserving daylight and kind of maximizing what you can do in that little bit of time where you can still see, and then trying to hunker down for the night until sunrise again and start gathering more resources the next day. So,
hey Pat, did you say like what's a good bag? Like the backpack that you should be using?
I did not. I really like the Vertex stuff. When I get their packages in the mail, whether it's a T-shirt or pants or a backpack, like I think any of us, like when you open a package, whether it's a knockoff from China, like you got it from super cheap on Amazon, or whether it's quality. And I have no financial relationship with this company, just to be clear. But when I get their stuff in the mail, I know that it's quality. I know the zippers are rugged. I know the material is stitched well. I know it's good material. I do know when I open their products and when I put them on my pants or my shirt or the bags, I know that thought goes into the design. And the biggest problem I have with bureaucracy is that a lot of people lose incentive for actual effectiveness for their mission. And I know that their design of their products, I know that someone sat in a boardroom meeting and said, I know you like this feature, but it doesn't work. Let's instead do this. And that must have gotten approved in several different steps of their process. So I know that they make real change. I know they try things that are innovative, and I know that most of it works really well. So I would start with them.
Nice.
So would you say
Sorry, I was just gonna second Vertex. They make some of the best bags I've ever had. My one concern would be like the bugging out again. You mentioned earlier a sling bag. They're not usually the most comfortable things to carry for a long duration. Mm-hmm. So if you're like getting the hell out of town, get 2 straps on a backpack.
That's a good point. I agree.
It'll make life so much easier.
I think that's different in framing. Pat's got more the get on the road and get out type, and then we're kind of also angling more the go out in the woods type. So again, framing is important. Consider, like, are you going to be, just have it in the car and you might have to walk, 50 feet with it, or are you going to be doing miles and miles out in the wilderness? Like, what are you doing?
That was AO. What is that? AO?
Yeah, area operations.
Okay, yeah.
So here's one for females. So especially if you're in a professional environment, like whether you wear like flats, like flip-flops to work, or whether you wear high heels to work, for females especially, most guys can get away with wearing combat boots wherever they go. I would put a pair of walking shoes or running shoes in the trunk of your car and a pair of socks just stuffed into the toes. That could be a big lifesaver beyond anything tactical like a gun or anything like that.
I keep my boots in my car.
Yes, buckles.
Yeah.
Name of the episode.
I keep. So when it comes down to your bag, would you say that should be like a high price point item, like not just go for the price, but something that's high quality, expensive? Would you say that should be more of a concern with the bag, or is it meh?
I'm glad you asked. I would say the bag's kind of in the middle, but one of the notes I did have for price points for you guys was specifically for flashlights that we talked about. If you're going to have a flashlight on your weapon, or if you're going to have a separate handheld flashlight, that should not be the area that you go on Amazon and you look for a deal. I think the difference between a low price point flashlight and completely blinding your enemy with photons, I think that's got to be a high price point. I think that comes with the territory. It's got to be reliable, it's got to be rugged, and it's got to be bright as fuck.
Streamlight boy.
All right, so what lights are you running?
I have loved Surefire for more than a decade now, and I've operated with them. I do know that now Streamlight is giving Surefire a run for their money in the tactical market. I like a lot of their weapon lights. I even like a lot of their handhelds. So Streamlight's a little less expensive, and it's still very rugged, reliable, and they're bright.
Okay, so and because they're cheap, I got to ask, Olights.
No experience with them.
No experience? Okay.
I like most of the Instagram community, base my purchases off of what the gun meme lords are making fun of. Unless I've used them, I'm like, well, I don't really want something that's gonna be made a meme of. So it could be like a very clever marketing thing. There's just like tons of meme lords that are like on a payroll, but I don't know. Seems like a good starting point. That's terrible fucking advice. All right. Anyway, so
we're good at that.
Yeah, clean. We'll forget that part. Endpoint should leave that in. All right. Here's another one. So we talked about angling towards a civil war bag or a survival bag. But even for like a survival bag, we're all gonna want some form of self-defense. How would you go about saying like how much ammunition do you need and how heavily armed should you be based on both a survival and then I guess a more civil war kind of bag?
Oh, geez. even that has so many variables for the framing.
Right, like, are you just fucking off into the woods? Are you like expecting a resupply? Are you linking up with a larger element to sort of combine resources there? What what's the next step of that?
I guess if we're going for both, so survival is just you want to stay safe. You got your family out there. You're heading out into the wilderness. For or
Chop
on the
down
road.
trees and build a little cabin.
Yeah, live the ANCAP dream. Or you're going out on the road to try and get somewhere safe. Like, just for that scenario, what would you say is like a sensible amount of weight to contribute to ammunition and weapons and such?
I mean, if you're not like, for my opinion, like if you're not expecting to engage another armed element, or if you're sort of trying to ward that off, I mean, like 3 mags plus 1 of the gun, that's a significant amount of ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're like, that'll get you quite a ways just surviving in the woods too. That's probably a month's worth of hunting if you do it right. So actually, that's longer than a month. That's like 3 months worth of hunting if you space it out right and you conserve properly and you don't waste it. Don't waste any of your game or any of your shots. I mean, that's a significant amount of time in the woods. So 3 mags plus 1 in the gun will do plenty. If you have a secondary like a pistol you're carrying too, I mean, that's a little better. Gets you a little longer. So
I have a good framing for this as well. It won't fit everybody, but it'll fit some people. So for law enforcement, there's an active shooter bag, and that might be probably what this episode title should have been. Should have alluded to. I'm sorry it's taken this long, but I carried an active shooter bag. So normally, when I step out of my cruiser, I had. And for the people that don't know me, I am no longer in law enforcement. I left that career a long time ago. I had my gun belt. I had 2 mags for my pistol, separate from my gun. I had my pistol with my loadout in it. I had a light on my pistol, which thankfully my agency was forward-leaning enough that they allowed me to do that. I had a flashlight on my belt. I had some handcuffs. I had a radio. I had a taser. And I think I had an ASP, and that was it. And I'm a skinny dude, so that's a lot of shit for me. And I had my soft armor under my uniform. So if we roll up to, like, say we're driving past the school, and we get the call, oh my God, there's an active shooter in the school. Yeah, I can throw it in park and start sprinting into that school. Yes. But that would be a great time to go, you know what? Let me get the shotgun out of my rack. Let me go to my trunk. Let me throw on a lightweight, like thin strip, like a thin backpack, lightweight, that's got a couple extra, like strips of shotgun shells. It's got another tac flashlight in it. It's got some chem lights in it so I can crack them and break them if I need to identify something. It's got some, 5 or 6 pairs of flex cuffs in case there's multiple shooters or multiple people, or if I have to shoot somebody and they're down. There's still a lot of people don't know this. There's still a processing that happens with that person. You don't just go, oh, they fell down, they're done. So whether you've shot them or you've ordered them to the ground, or whether they're an unknown, so you don't know if they're a victim or a suspect, you can run up and flex cuff multiple people. Extra pair of handcuffs, extra handcuff key, extra flex cuff cutter. What else would go in there for me? God, I can't remember. But that particularly is an active shooter bag. So that is, there's a fight, we're running to it. Let me bring this extra shit with me. So that would be your gunfight bag or your active shooter bag. It's got extra magazines that are loaded. It's got an extra light, maybe a knife, maybe a multi-tool, not to build a cabin in the woods, but you got to get through a locked obstacle. At least you can take the screws off of something, to get you through it, if that's available. And because my heart is near and dear to entry specialties, some basic, easy to use entry tools would be a great idea for that bag as well. It doesn't do you any good to run to an active shooter, fully loaded, if you can't get through the door to help people on the other side. So maybe some small entry tools. I would bring a commercial plastic shim to shim some latches. I'd bring a shove knife tool, and those two things will get you through so many obstacles.
Got it. So we've kind of done like combat load when we're going over like body armor and stuff. I guess so. In addition to what you were talking about earlier, Pat, with body armor and like your magazine pouches and stuff, what would you have in reserve if you were shit's going down? We're talking about the wet dream of boob boys everywhere. You're going to war. What do you want in your pack? In addition to like your standard, combat load.
What would I want in my pack?
Yeah, for like, resupply down the line and just like in terms of ammunition and stuff.
Oh God. I'm not sure I completely understand the frame of the question, but I'll give it a run. So batteries are a big fucking deal. For people that do this for a living every day, people that walk towards a gunfight, or for people that are just in the preparedness mindset, batteries are a big fucking deal. They don't last nearly as long as you think they do. And you have to remember that in combat, you use those lights a lot more than you do day to day. So those batteries, it's almost like the opposite of a hockey stick chart on a graph. Like it goes down instead of up at a sharp angle at the end. Batteries are big. Of course, ammo for your specific weapons platforms, that's big. It sounds kind of dorky, but throw some fucking granola bars or some power bars in there. So for a resupply or for a bag that's such a nice help. And some baby wipes for either field showers or for, whatever. That's something else too. I talked about that in my apartment. My apartment bug-in episode? A lot of people don't realize how much that can help you, even if it's just a field
really
shower. Thank you. I really enjoyed doing that one. Let's see. Give me 1 second to read your screen here on Discord.
My favorite episode.
Yeah, that one got a lot of hits. That one zoomed up. That's probably my biggest episode, period.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The way things are going right now. Yeah. I was after listening. I was like, oh fuck, I'm not as prepared as I thought. Well, in reality, there's so many things. I was like, why the fuck am I not doing this?
That's how I was sometimes. Like, why wasn't I not doing that?
It's like that's so easy to do. Let's start.
It was important to me for that one to be evergreen. I don't like. I know you guys hate me for the last time I was on here, but I don't like taking big advantages of the hot trending terms out there. So I wanted that to be not about a fucking virus, but about in general preparedness that you can always use.
Right.
So I was happy to. Oh, a gas mask. We haven't even mentioned that once. Okay, so gloves, and even maybe not even a gas mask, but just what's a great fucking tool? I did a whole episode on low cost, high impact tools. Yeah, tomahawks. Sure. God, there's one that I want so bad, but it's so fucking expensive. Who half face blades on Instagram makes a badass fucking tomahawk.
I follow them, but I know I will probably never have the disposable income.
Everyone should go join Pat's Patreon so he can get a
tomahawk
thing
thing
that they're talking about.
I'm more worried about paying for my fucking podcast hosting than a tomahawk right now. This world is wild. A gas mask would be great. Filters that match your mission would be great. And I didn't get to my point. Either a shamag or what do the people call those? A buff. They call them, the fishing people call them a buff. Your face and neck wraps.
That's so utilitarian. If your towel gets fucked up, and just having like a rag to use for anything, and then just the protective qualities it has as well. Yeah.
And if you want to survive in this galaxy, you got to know where your towel's at.
Indeed.
No Hitchhiker's Guide fans, come on.
I got you.
I recognize it. I'm just stoned.
I knew what you were saying.
Oh shit! Yeah, the shmogs and the buffs I like a lot. Fuck, that's a lot of stuff, man.
Right?
We covered a lot of ground.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what we're hoping for.
I only said lockpicking once. I'm ashamed of myself. Those
I
are
know.
rookie
I
numbers.
was waiting for you to bring it up. It was right at the end.
No lockpicks in your 3-day go to work yet?
Oh, they're in mine. Yeah, I live it every day. That's like
I was gonna say they're in his fucking wallet. No,
It's who he is.
He forgets he has them. They're like fingers.
they're like fingers. I like that.
I mean, going by your the innuendos and such that you were talking about in your book, they most certainly are like fingers and other appendages.
Yes, man. I love the publishing company. I'm very happy for them, but they took out like 2 or 3 of my fucking sex jokes. I had to put them back in at this last edit.
Like, guys, that's what the chapter's about.
Like I did that. Like when I said just the tip, like that was for a reason. Don't change it.
I'm not just 8 years old. I'm a fucking artist.
I'm an artist. No, they're great. I don't want that to sound negative. I'm really thankful. The product that I have now is much better than it would have been on my own.
Dude, I'm really looking forward to this book.
I'm gonna try to 3D print a pattern and then build my own lockpick out of some stainless steel shit I have. Yeah, I'm in quarantine.
Right? Got nothing better to do.
And I'm trying to learn how to use the fucking CAD software. And I like working in my garage with metals.
My brain hurts. I got fucking 200 pages left to read through tonight.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
My gosh. Well, it's
The
great
book is
having you
exactly the book is 301 pages, and I'm at page 101 right now.
Oh man. Well,
not much to work on. I just have to read it and make sure they didn't take out any other sex jokes.
Priorities.
That's the incentive.
This is why you're a man of the people, Pat. All right, I got one more brain hurty question, and then we can wrap up with your plugs and leave you to your intellectual pursuits. All right. So someone asked, what should be our priority of packing? So what should be most available to us? What should be at the bottom, and then how would we handle weight distribution?
Sure. Here's one of the easiest ones. When you're changing clothes, you're usually going to be in private, and you usually have plenty of time to do it. That shit goes at the bottom of your bag. And I put all my clothes in Ziploc bags, and I press the air out. Security is something you may never, ever need, but when you need it right fucking now. So I put that stuff either in the front or the top of my bag. Easy to put utility items like a Leatherman or a machete or pocket knife to securely fashion it in like a closed pouch on the outside of your bag. Those are some ways I would pack. Carabiners. Be careful if you think you're going to hang your fucking body off of something with one. That's why I like the plastic ones, because I know that I can't ever mistake it for a climbing tool. And I'm in Florida, the flattest state in the union. So I don't have to worry about using it for rappelling, but they're great to carry multiple bags. They're great to hook 550 cord to and use it as a pulley system. Another entry tip would be using that on fences. So you unsecure that one bottom wire on the fence, you loop some 550 cord through, use a carabiner at the top of the fence, you create that pulley, you wrench the bottom of that fence up, and then you just tie it off. So you could put carabiners on the outside of your bag. What else? That would be a good start. I would make my security stuff accessible. I put my clothing on the bottom. Any food, you can usually take a minute to sit down and dig out some food. If you're doing any wilderness stuff, you can store stuff inside of a pot with no handles, and just don't forget to have a tool that you can access that hot pot with when you take it off the fire. So yeah, read stuff. I just don't camp a lot, ever. That could get you started.
Solid stuff. So things that you need immediately to save your life at the top, things not so much down low. And then does that get in the way of weight distribution at all? Like,
I don't. That's another area I'm not an expert in. I don't carry shit long distances. I'm old and I'm no longer in the service. So I don't do my hiking and land navigation anymore. So I couldn't answer that load distribution. As far as wearing the armor and being properly sized and seated for that, yeah, sure, I can help you with that. But I don't know about wearing a pack on a 2-hour bike ride or a 10-hour march. I don't know.
I was gonna say you coasties don't get in experience with like 72-hour packs walking around boats.
No, they made us do a tier 1 fitness test, like the same thing that Rangers and SEALs, I guess, allegedly use for their fitness standard. And they were like, all right, do this 300-meter sprint. And I'm like, wait a second. On what fucking boat on the planet is there a straight line 300 meters long? Please tell me. Fucking assholes.
Be a hell of a job. Like, wait, seriously? Fuck me. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, man. It's always a pleasure to get you a very down to earth and compartmental breakdown on gear, because too often we want to live in our little action man world where we'll have like the 200-pound rock on our back and M60 in our hand, but yeah, it's good to take a pragmatic look at these things, and yeah. All right, so where can we find you, Pat?
Yeah, fuck, we should have done those plugs up front. If you've listened to this and you stuck around, the home base is just the website. That's uncensoredtactical.com.
Nice.
I refuse to use Facebook, so you won't find me there, although some gracious people have reposted some of my things to that platform. That's fine. I'm on Instagram and Twitter almost daily, and that's the same handle, Uncensored Tactical. It's one word on both those platforms. That's pretty much it. If you want to email me specifically things like recommendation and long format feedback, a good place for that is email. You can find that through the website, or you can just type it in, uncensoredtactical@gmail.com. And I love the fan interaction. I'm fine if I'm wrong and someone corrects me. That's great. I'm totally down with that. That's it, man. I'm thankful for you guys. I love what you do. I'm very happy I can help support you a little bit. And I hope that for the audience, I brought some value and some insight.
All right. Well, you can listen to Pat talking about his subject, the love of his life, really, lockpicking in episode 29. The man's passionate, so passionate. He's got a book coming out.
Correct. This summer, it's coming out. It's written. It's done. It's the very last step for the manuscript. It will be done tonight in about an hour. It's the proofreading, and then every step after this is the publishing.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that a lot. That's gonna be fucking awesome to have on the coffee table.
Thanks,
I can
guys.
finally concern my girlfriend 10% less with the anarchist cookbook and replace it with something educational with actual value. All right, entertaining, and then attempts at education.
Oh man.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, guys. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every time.
Thanks for coming on. Late.
Good. Yeah, good.
Shame. All right. Thanks for listening, people.